and you're in the process of putting together your life and your business plan. And as you begin to consider the following year, I want you to remember what your goals were the year before. Take inventory, take stock of what your goals were a year ago. What were you intending to accomplish? What were those goals? Write them down. Your business goals, your life goals, in all the areas that matter to you, take inventory. How did you do? What distance did you really make? Consolidate your gains. This is a very important part of the process, is instead of running right out of the gate and thinking strategically about the year that you want to create, first, look back, look behind you. Where were you? What were you expecting? And now, where are you now? So looking at that gap between where you expected and where you are is just as important as where you are and where you want to be. Because by looking at that gap, you're able to see assets and obstacles. You're able to see elements, obstacles, either direct or circumventing, that were in your way, or you're able to see elements that did work that need to continue. And from those two data points, you're able to see things that you haven't even started yet. Maybe there are other elements, methods, habits, adjustments that you need to make in choice management toward the goals that you seek to create. So it's a very interesting learning process to slow down, gather where you are, compare it to where you were, and gather those insights. Now, our life plan process is something we do in a format called a vision map. And a vision map has 5 key elements within it. And you have to master all 5 elements in order to make the most of the creative process that underlies this life plan or this business plan, any plan that where you have a place to go, you look at where you are and you figure out how you're going to get there. It has this vision map. This is the composition. So the 5 components are: 1, germination; number 2, stratification; number 3, quantification; number 4, distillation; and number 5, implementation. So let's start off with germination. Germination is the point of origin from which a vision or a goal, something that you seek to create, comes from. It is the source. It's the nothing from which something comes into being. Because creating is the process of causing something to exist that doesn't exist yet, you start with nothing. You originate from nothing. What is that nothing? That nothing is devoid of the situation that you're in. That nothing is devoid of what you know. That nothing is devoid of what you believe or your worldview. It implies that we do not impose any filters on the current moment, that the present moment is unblemished. It is what it is. We start from where we are. So to germinate means 2 things. 1, it means to create out of this moment by having a deeper immersion into the reality that's here. When you look at your current moment, what wants to emerge? What is your community, the people around you, what do they want for you as a whole? What is it that's standing in need of you? Rather than looking at it from what you seek, what is it that's seeking you to come into being? A calling. A real sense of purpose. It's time to review that going into the year, because that's kind of what primarily directs your senses. That's what directs your attention. That's the place out of which you perceive the now, is what is it that you are really drawn to? What are you drawing forth? What is seeking your help? What is needing service from you? It's a very interesting way to look at it. As if the movement to germinate was out here, not in here. Yes, you have it in here, but there's something out here also that is probably speaking to you. I know that sounds funny, but we all have kind of this inner voice as an instrument in us, a voice of the heart that is an inner place, an inner knowing. And so the germinating part is to consider both those, the intention and the attention. The intention is, the sole desire. What is it that you really love enough to see exist this year? What is it that you want to cause? What is it that you want to have come into being? And that is a very generative love, but the receptive side, the discovery side is, what is it that is out there that wants to bring you into it? What is it that's out there that's seeking you? And so there's really 2 points of reference. Inspiration, motivation. Motivation is what I want to create and what I want to cause. Inspiration is what's already out there that's seeking me to come into being. And you need to look at both of those. Now, from that, you might begin to envision a picture of conditions that you really seek to create. You might have certain elements in your life right now that matter to you. You might have other elements that don't matter to you. You might have elements in the future that don't exist yet, but yet matter to you, and you want to cause them to exist. So the content, the context from which we're germinating is what really matters to you. Not what should matter, not what matters to other people, but what does matter to you. Okay, we have to set this up right. That is the setting, is that it's a purposeful urge that is non-justifiable. It is that which it is. You want to cause it to exist because you care about it. It organizes the interior of you. It orients you in a very deep way. So that's germination. Number 2, stratification. Stratification means to now take, like an orchestra, break down all the different moving parts of this picture that's beginning to reify in your mind. And so you might have your health. Maybe you have another lane or slot called your personal finances. You have another lane called your business. You have another one called fun and leisure. You have another one called extracurricular activities. You have another one called your relationship with God. Think of it like a catalog of elements that compose the real geography of your intrinsic desires in life. What do you really want to create in each of these lanes? And so what you do is you draw from this germination point, this pull point, like a pocket of all the stuff that you want to create, and then you begin to compartmentalize into different stratification areas. You stratify that vision. It's almost like slicing it up in different moving parts or bodies of work. My health, I'm going to create that. I've got my relationships, my emotional piece, my relationship with my spouse. I've got all these different bodies of work that together come together in unison to make or compose a life plan. And if you're looking for any life balance, this is the way to do it, is to take an inventory of what does matter and doesn't in each area, because life balance is creating what matters to you in the areas that do, and to not create what matters to you in areas that don't. Quantification. Now, if we're going to quantify, it means in each area you've got to pick some metrics. What are you going to measure so we can see the distance to your vision? For example, in your health, you may have a measurement of your waistline. Or maybe in your health you have your cholesterol levels, or maybe your number of orgasms per week or per month. Or maybe you're going to measure in your health the number of meals that you're going to eat per day, or maybe how many hours of sleep that you're getting per night. But you need to pick 3 or 5 really good core metrics that are going to be your compass points, kind of the key performance indicators of your stratified area, right? So in your health you have that, personal finances, maybe it's net worth, maybe it's your level of equity, maybe it's the amount of debt that you have, maybe it's, so you figure that out. And you need to be creative with this, right? So if it's in your life plan side, you may want to sit down with your most important people in your life and talk about these KPIs. So now you've gone through the quantification process, you've laid out all the different metrics that you want. Now it's time to position some goals. Goals are benchmarks or yardsticks. Remember, a vision and a goal is very different. In germination, we work from a vision. A vision is the real motivation or the inspiration. This is the what gives rise to action or new behavior that interrupts the past. A goal is a metric, benchmark, or yard line that we use to gauge the distance or the performance toward that vision being created, manifesting it, creating it, bringing it into being. And so it's very important that you go through that quantification. Don't skip this step. Now posture some goals. So if you're measuring your waistline, what do you want it to be, right? And by when? If you're measuring your cholesterol, what do you want it to be? Below 200 by when? If it's body mass index, what is it? In your relationship, how many days you spend together per year? How many vacations you go on? If it's fun and leisure, again, you're positioning some goals here. Maybe you have some 1-year goals. Maybe even identify with maybe some 3 or 5-year goals here. That might emerge as well. So from goal setting, now we start the distillation process. And just like you think about water being distilled or something being broken down to its finer parts, This is really what we want to do, is we want to take the macro, kind of the big guiding ideas from which we remember what we need to do in the moment, and then we want to break it down to the smaller projects, disciplines, and tasks that we want to start, stop, and continue. And so to do this, we need to begin to think strategically, right? So we look at, first thing we're going to do is take the metrics, and maybe on the right side, put those goals, and on the left-hand side, ask yourself this: what do I have now, what currently exists in relationship to these goals? What is current reality? What is working? What is not working? Take stock, take inventory of yourself, take inventory of the current moments outside of you. Really get a pure view of current reality. And this is very important. Also look for systemic causes of root problems. Don't just look at the tree branches or the trunk. Look at the real roots of the issues, right? Ask yourself, why is that happening? Well, why is that happening? Well, why is that happening? Go 5 whys deep. See if you can get down to the very root. So if you're not, for example, if you're creating an obstacle in your finances that you're not saving money, well, why is that happening? Well, it's because I assume that money will be taken from me. Ooh, interesting. Wow, is that really true? So you might bring some of these obstacles out, and some of them may just decouple themselves or dislodge when they're not truthful. And part of this process is bringing these obstacles to light and looking at them, because some of them are very theatrical and made up, and they're just stories. They're not reality. So it's very important that you identify the difference between the reality and the facts in the news and the editorial and the story and the opinions. I want fact. You need fact. Your unconscious mind wants the truth. It wants you to be truthful with it. That's how it gets creative. That's how it comes to your aid. It's not against you. It's not the enemy. If you lie to it, it is. So we don't want to feed it all this dumb stuff, positive thinking, beliefs, all these things that really, it knows it's not real. And so it begins to assume that who but a person is just the opposite of that would be a person who needs to think that way. It actually begets the belief that we're trying to cover over. It doesn't work. So the idea is to get out of your concepts about reality and to look at the reality itself. And that means to identify the real workings of reality. What's going on? What's working? What's not working? And you may want to use the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Give yourself this opportunity to really get to the real truth about what's going on. Okay? Because when you do that, it's like a slingshot, right? Here's reality. You kind of create tension in the bow between what you want to create and where you actually are. And there's a natural pulling. There's a pressure system between these 2 points. It's like summoning something in your favor from nature that wants to seek closure. It's like positioning your goals within a structure that's rigged to succeed. It's called structural tension. So I'm hoping you'll establish this very clearly. It's as if you had 2 screens, goal on the right, current reality on the left, and juxtaposed to each other, it creates this pull system. So make sure you establish this now. Now, we have current reality, right? You've written it down, maybe left column, right column. Where am I now? What do I want then? Where am I now? What do I want then? Okay. In between that, you've got action, right? In order for current reality to become the goal, in order for these 2 to equalize, you're going to need to identify some secondary decisions, things that are secondary to the primary decisions you make, like what do I want to create and what goals do I want to create. So the secondary decisions are those things that you need to do now in order to have that then. And some of those things you may not like, they may not be comfortable to you, but that's not the orientation to them. The idea is that it serves what you want. It's a line of sight to what you want. So the idea is to start thinking strategically about what broad initiatives, what needs to start that I haven't done before, what needs to continue that's working, what needs to stop that's not working. And this is the moment when you begin to think of strategy. And notice that you're not just goal setting and strategy. Goal setting and strategy. It's very natural for the mind to do that. Oh, I know what to do. I know, No, wait a second. Do current reality first, then strategy. Now, as you begin to position some strategies in each area, health, here's some projects, tasks, and disciplines. Personal finance, project, tasks, and disciplines. Start, stop, and continue. In your all the different areas, in your stratified areas, pull each one out, kind of a 1 or 2 pager that lays out your distillation. Then ask yourself, on every one of those initiatives, could I do that today? Could it happen today? And most likely you're going to say, no, it can't. It's just too big. Ask yourself the second question. What would have to happen first? And then you come up with another action. Then ask that action. Can it happen today? No, it can't. Okay, what would have to happen first? Boom, I come up with another action. Could that happen today? Wow, it probably could. Great, then you schedule it. Not for today, but you schedule it when you will do it. You time activate it because what's scheduled gets done. What's scheduled gets done, and what's measured gets done too, right? Good, we have metrics. Okay, So now you have these tasks. They're beginning to be born out of, they're distilled out of these kind of broad strategic initiatives. What am I going to start, stop, and continue? And then what specific tasks or steps do I need to take? What maneuvers do I have to take in order for this strategic direction to be fulfilled? But now it's about implementation, right? And this means execution, getting it to your calendar. This means a daily remembrance. So this means that for the next 90 days, you're going to focus on these objectives. So looking through all the stratified areas of your plan, now take out what you think would be the 90-day objectives that you're going to select and kind of pop them into the pocket of this dimension of time. And you're going to say, okay, I'm going to put these in these 90 days. Great. That's cool because you're discriminating what works or discriminating what you're going to put your attention on and what you're not. And the neat thing is that you leave things out that may be better in the next 90 days, and you're also thinking from here, kind of like a billiard game, how do I need to line up that cue ball in order to sink the next shot? What do I need to do in these 90 days that will position me for my annual targets? So you're thinking about what needs to happen now to tee up what I got to have happen then. That's implementation, and then of course action. And action means choice management, and that means that the behavior that you exude daily, at least 50 to 60% needs to be driven or within the context. Your conduct needs to connect to the context. You connect your conduct to the context of this. And connecting conduct to context means daily remembrance. It means on the top of your mind, you're thinking of the 6 most important priorities that you're going to take care of, and at least 50% of that cannot be reactive. It can't just be what showed up. It can't be circumstantial driven. It has to be creating, generative. It has to be oriented around content of your plan. So what we do is we prioritize those 6. And that means half of every day, half of your priorities are going to be within the context of those goals. If they're not, then you'll have the same goals next year and we'll be having the same video and you'll be wishing you won't be getting any traction. So to review, the vision map has 5 elements. We germinate. In other words, we draw from inspiration or motivation. What do we want to create or what's emerging right now? We begin to put our head and heart and our soul around a clear picture that the future will be. It's a fairy tale. We make it up. It's not what it is. It's what it does to us. And then stratification. We cut it up. We break it down into all the moving parts so it's a little easier to execute health, business, finance, all the different types of relationships, all these different sort of cataloged areas that we're going to work on. And then we're going to quantify each one, 3 to 5 key performance indicators that are going to help us see our distance. And then distillation, bringing it to current reality. Have now, want then. Have now, want then. And then what has to happen in between? What needs to happen now in order for me to create that then? What do I want to start? What do I want to stop? What do I want to continue? And then from there, our 2-part question. Could it happen today? Could it happen tomorrow? No. Okay, then what has to happen first? And then that one. Could it happen today? Could it happen tomorrow? No. Well, then what has to happen first? We begin to back our plan into the beginnings. We begin to back our end in mind into a starting step. And that's the key idea, is to distill it down, the macro to the micro, taking the context down to the conduct in implementation, daily remembrance, 6 priorities that we're going to remember. 3 of them are allowed to be reactive based because they're based on the flow of life, things that we didn't expect, and the things we do expect to finish, these are things we have to insert into our daily priorities because we make choices, and those choices are driven by what we say matters. So, you link your actions to your words, actions to your words. You keep your agreements with yourself, and that builds enormous confidence, so it's like a momentum. The next year, you're going to have even more confidence to go out there, and when you say it, you're going to count on yourself to do it. Now, you have to do this. And then what you do is you call up JD and you say, JD, I've got this fabulous life plan. I've got this amazing business plan. Thank you for helping me do the real trench work. I really took my time aside. I made an appointment with myself. I paid a visit to my future, and I've got this thing set up. But I need you to hold my feet to the fire. I need some accountability, and I need to make sure that I fend off the stuff that is going to try to get to me and try to fight off this plan that I say matters. I need to dissipate some of the complexity. So I need coaching. I need help. That's it. All right, let's have the best year of your life. And I'll tell you, if you write it down and you daily remember it and you manage your choices, you're going to be having a different conversation with yourself and other people around you in the world.